pleasure to be here. Thank you for your warm welcome. Who here would like more time? Yeah? And if I could give you back 30 extra hours a month, would that make a difference to your life? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank God I'm in the right room. My name's Christie and I'm a time management expert. I'm also the author of Me Time, the professional woman's guide to finding 30 guilt-free hours a month. And my book's available today for sale to Mumpreneurs for $20, so see me in the foyer if you're interested later. I just wanted to mention that I met Peace probably 5.5 years ago when I was first starting out in business, and Mumpreneurs are very close to my heart because Peace gave me one of my very first big breaks where she tracked my journey for my first 12 months in Diary of a Mumpreneur. So we've remained in touch since, and it's been terrific because as I have enjoyed some business success, I feel like, you know, Peace has been riding that train a little bit with me alongside. So it's wonderful to be here. So look, your time is very precious. So thank you so much for being here and giving me some of your time. I want to make sure that we jam-pack as much of this in as possible. So today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the Superwoman myth, and sharing a little bit of my story, how I am a bit of a reformed Superwoman. I want to speak to you about time styling and why it works. I want to talk about the biggest time management challenges that we have, and it's important to identify with those so that you know what to avoid. We're going to cover the 7 mistakes that very clever women seem to make when it comes to managing their time. I'm then going to take you through the 5 steps that you can follow to getting back or finding and harnessing your own 30 hours of lost time a month. And I'm going to touch a little bit on the costs of any poor time management habits that you have at the moment. And then we'll finish off with some really quick wins. So I want you to be able to walk out of here today with some strategies, some new ideas that you can implement when you get home from the conference to start seeing time coming back into your day. So I want to talk a little bit first about the Superwoman myth. I was reformed. I'm a reformed Superwoman. I certainly suffered from Superwoman syndrome for many years. Because I was one of the generation of women who was told that I could have it all. And I genuinely believed it, and for a long time there, I actually did. My simple formula for success was hard work, plus a modicum of talent, and I could have anything that I wanted. And that served me really, really well through high school, through university, and through the start of my career as a lawyer and then a senior executive. Hard work plus some talent equals having it all. And then, in quite quick succession, I had 3 babies in 3.5 years, which was entirely my own fault. I'm not expecting any sympathy from anyone for that. What that meant though was, damn it, I'm a Superwoman. I can still do this. I know my formula works. Hard work plus some talent, and I'll have anything that I want. So I maintained the pace. I was working full-time. I had 3 babies under 3.5, and nobody could dash for the train in high heels as fast as I could to make sure that I got home in time to pick them up from creche so that I didn't incur, $10 a minute for every minute I was late. I was very adept at going to the supermarket each and every single day and buying exactly what I needed for that night, not a bean more. No one could vacuum at the speed that I could whilst, making lunches and Vegemite with one hand and Googling and checking my emails with the other. And, I'd get home and I would check my emails. I'd put the kids in the bath, I'd check my emails. I'd make dinner for the kids, I'd check my emails. I'd say, hi husband, honey, how are you? Here's a glass of wine, check my emails. Make dinner for us, check out my emails. Feed the cat, walk the dog, put the kids to bed, check my emails. Fall into bed and check my emails. I was living the dream. And you know what it's like. Something had to give. And I clearly remember the day that it did. Being the super mum and the superhero that I was, I decided that before going into work I was going to take my preppy to school. And there I was in the playground. I was that mum in a beautiful black suit, the high heels, the red lippy, looking $1 million, with the preppy clinging to my leg in absolute hysteria, trying not to get too much snot on my suit as I got him off, because it was cupcake day. I didn't know that it was cupcake day. I don't know who comes up with these ideas, it's certainly not working mums. I couldn't have been further from the image of the fantasy mum at that point if you tried. So there I was, hysterical child, no cupcakes, all the other mums have got their trays and they're looking at me with disdain. And I wasn't even able to sneak out of the school ground and rush to the supermarket and grab some plastic cakes and a plastic plate and belt them up a bit so they looked like I'd made them, because he'd blown my cover. My cover was blown. He was hysterical. I was the only mum who'd forgotten the damn cupcakes. So after extracting him from my leg and depositing him with the teacher and having her look at me with, empathy and kindness, I dashed to the car. This was the real me. And I sat in the car and I was just so stressed. I felt so guilty and anxious, and I was driving into work and I was rushing because I was late for work. So, I had this trauma of the child, then I've got the trauma of, I'm letting everybody down here. I'm constantly rushing from one thing to another. And I rang my mum, good old mum, in tears and said, "Mum, I've forgotten the cupcakes. Can you go down to the school and take some cupcakes?" "Yes, honey." So I walk into work and I was late for my meeting. And as I walked into the senior executive team meeting, dead silence. And every single person around the table looked at their watch, and then they looked back at me, and they looked at their watches, and then they kept talking. And I had this profound realisation that I was the only member of that senior executive team who didn't have a full-time life.
Yeah.
Something had to give. And it was at that point in time that I decided I can't be everything. I can't be everything. And I decided to give up my career to put my kids first. And I was wrong, because I loved my career. It was a fantastic job. I got a lot of self-esteem. I got a lot of self-worth from my job. And yet the pressure that I'd placed on myself of trying to do it all, trying to be it all, trying to have it all, had forced me to the point where I felt I had no choice but to opt out of my career. But what opting out did give me was the headspace. It gave me some mental bandwidth to realise 3 really important things. I didn't need to have it all. I should just be chasing after the bits that were most important to me. The second thing was that in chasing after those bits, I didn't need to have it all. I didn't need to do it all myself. I could actually ask for help. I could expect help. I could pay for help. And the third thing, which was most important for me, was that I realised that being successful in my career and being a great mum weren't mutually exclusive, that I could actually have both. And that's my passion now. I work with other very, very clever women who are looking to have both. Women who say, "I want to have a fantastic business and I am a fantastic mum. I just need some time management strategies to help me better manage the juggle so that I can have both." And that's what I love. So, why time styling? We are all very busy women. We are being crushed under loads of washing and dishwashers and plates and to-dos. And, if like me at that point in time, I felt like I was drowning under a list of to-dos. You're all in business for yourself. Some of you will be starting out. Some of you will have very, very established, successful businesses. One thing you will all have in common is that you are clever, driven women. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be taking this path because it is a very, very hard road. You know that. It takes a lot of hard work, but you're passionate, you're driven, you've got a great business idea, and you are backing yourself, and that is awesome. So at the workplace, you're probably pretty good at managing your time and delegating and doing the things that need to be done. But what I find with the women that I work with is that sometimes they can be a little bit more of a basket case on the home front. So what me time is all about, and what my time management approach is all about, is making sure you manage your time the smart way on the home front, which gives you back hours and hours of time each month that you can then put into what you love, be it spending more time with your kids, with your partner, growing your business, developing new contacts, networking, coming to events like this. So that's what time styling's about. It's about working with you on the home front. When it comes to managing your time, each and every one of you will have time management challenges. So each of you will be able to sit there right now and think, something will spring right to the front of your mind in terms of what you find most challenging on a day-to-day basis. And all of those challenges will be very, very different, but having worked with hundreds of women in this area, what I find is that those challenges tend to boil down to 3 very specific challenges. The first is you don't have enough time. And time for yourself, forget it. Because generally speaking, most of you will be putting yourself last each and every time. The second time management challenge is that you feel guilty, that awesome mother's guilt that we all carry around every time you put a work commitment or work priority ahead of a family priority. And the third is that you worry that you can't have success at work and at home. How can I grow this fantastic business that I've got but still be the awesome mum that I want to be? So right about now, some of you will probably be sitting there thinking, okay, 30 hours a month sounds really, really good, but come on, you're not going to be able to find 30 hours a month. I am busy. I am the busiest person in this room, and you can look at all the other women around the table and think, hell yeah, I'm busier than her. Yes and no. Like changing any poor time management habit, any poor habit, be it smoking, be it wanting to change your diet, be it wanting to start exercising. Changing a habit takes work. So in changing your poor time management habits, that takes work as well. You have to commit to making the change. You've got to invest some time to make the time. But if you do invest the time and you've got a process, a 5-step process, which I'm going to take you through shortly, that then steps you through how to get back that time, you will get your time back. But you do need to commit to it. There's work here. There's no, kind of magic bullet here. So what's stopping you? Well, there's 7 things that are probably stopping you. There's 7 mistakes that clever women who are time poor commonly make. And I want to talk to you about those because I want you to see them coming. I want you to try and recognise those mistakes in yourself so that if they are there and you do see them coming, you can stop and you can change course. The first mistake that I see that clever women often make is that they compare themselves to other women. You look and you think, how does she do it all? She's amazing, she always looks so terrific. Her kids have always got clean clothes on. She's managing a business, she's got all these balls in the air, she's running a podcast, she's writing blogs, she's got all these products out in the market, the website looks unbelievable, she hasn't got any staff, she's doing it all on her own, the kids are fed. How does she do it all? Stop. Just stop. You need to stop comparing yourself to the other women around you. Firstly, you've got no idea what's going on in their lives, what sort of support mechanisms they've got, what facade she may be putting up. Concentrate on your own goals, concentrate on your own family, concentrate on your own business and your own successes, because comparing yourself to those around you is just a big waste of your time. The second mistake, which was mine, one which I made in spades, was you were told you could have it all, so what the hell happened? You don't need to have it all. You need to sit down and identify what's most important for you. Write down your goals for the next 12 months. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve for your business and for your family? And then just chase after that. Forget the rest. It's distractions. Don't chase after what she's chasing after or what she's chasing after. That's her stuff. Diss the distractions because they are a big waste of your time. The third one, and this is a big one which I see all the time, is that you don't know where your time goes. You look busy. Anyone asks you, you see a friend in the street and they say, how are you? You say, oh, I'm so busy. It seems to be like part of the general greeting these days. How are you doing? I'm so busy. Oh, I'm busy too. Oh my God. Who would have thought? But what is it you're actually doing that's generating all of this busyness? If you don't know in detail what you're doing each day, if you don't know where you are spending your time, then you can't possibly know what changes you can make to free up your time. So you need to start mapping your time so that you can find the time wasters, the time rejects. The next one, and this is a big hairy one, this is the inability to say no. If you're a yes girl, then two things are going to happen very, very quickly. Firstly, you are going to run out of time like that. And the second thing is that the requests are going to keep coming in because you're the go-to girl, because you always say yes and you always deliver. So you need to stop saying yes. You need to start saying no. Remember, each time you say yes to a request that comes your way, you're saying no to yourself. The next one is that you don't ask for help. And this tends to go hand in hand with being a yes girl. We say yes to everyone else, but then we're not really able to ask someone for help when we need it. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to identify in your business and in your daily lives the areas where you don't have a strength or a skill or an interest. And then go ask for help or go pay for help, but ask for help. The next one is that you don't schedule time for yourself. We all will come up with little sound bites of time in our day or in our week where a meeting gets cancelled or a meeting finishes early, and you find yourself with half an hour of time. And what do? You don't spend that time on yourself. You don't go and say, oh God, I've got half an hour, I'm going to have a coffee. Or I might just sneak in a sneaky penny. No one does that. You get half an hour of time, I can rest assured you will be going and you'll be filling that washing machine, you'll run the vacuum cleaner over the floor, you'll send out some emails. You need to start scheduling time for yourself. If you're not looking after your own happiness, your own state of mind, your own well-being, then everything around you will suffer. And the last one is that you don't know where to start. So you know perhaps that you have some time management issues, you know that you have some bad habits that have crept into your day, and it's kind of on the radar out there that, oh God, I really need to do something about that. Today's not the day. Too busy today, maybe tomorrow. But if you don't circle a day in your diary, if you don't say, this is the day that I'm going to start managing my time smarter, then it's not going to happen. You'll put it off forever. Like anything that you do, put it in your diary, make a commitment, and say that's the day I'm going to start managing this better, else it's never going to happen. So what I want to talk about now is one of the 7 habits which I guess comes in most often, and it's quite confronting for a lot of people. Some of you in the room might not even be able to pronounce it. It's a very sort of foreign concept that, it's hard to grasp. The ability to say no. Now, I used to be shocking at this. Don't you hate those awkward conversations you have with someone where you feel that they're building up to ask you for a favour, and you can feel it coming? And I used to feel that awkwardness to my core. And so taking, saying yes into regions, never known by man before, I used to anticipate what I thought the person was going to ask me for, and then I'd jump in over the top of them without even letting them finish speaking and offer it up. because I felt that it was so awkward for me that I wanted to make it easier for them by offering rather than having them ask me for something. So for those of you who perhaps are a little bit too trigger happy on the yes button, there's some simple strategies you can put into play. The first one is hear the person out. They may not be even going to ask you for something. They may not be asking you for a favour, so just hold your tongue and let them speak. It could just be blowing off steam. The second thing is, or the second strategy is, once you've let them finish, then just pause. Let a bit of silence fill the space between you, and use that pause time to think. Is this something that I want to say yes to? Is this something that interests me? Is it something that I feel I should do? And if it's not, then here's another really foreign concept. Tell the truth. So, no, sorry, look, it's not going to work for me to score little Johnny's basketball this weekend, but thank you. And then pause again and let the silence fill the gap. Don't feel like you've got to and offer it all up. And then deflect, change the conversation. But how are you? It's really good to see you. So you've been polite, you've turned them down, you haven't then walked away thinking, God damn it, why did I say yes? Now that's another 2 hours of my time gone. The third strategy is when you use that pause time and you're thinking about whether or not it's something that you want to do or something that would benefit you, try and think of a win-win and then offer back a win-win. So, oh, actually, that will work for me. I will score this weekend if you swap and score for me in 2 weeks' time when it's my turn to score. Win-win, everyone's happy, you haven't been rude, and you're walking away thinking, okay, I didn't say yes again and get nothing, in return for this. Carolyn Creswell from Calm and Muesli fame was one of the brilliant women that I interviewed for Me Time. And when I talked to her about this concept, she had a really good way of thinking about it, which I wanted to share with you. She said if someone walks up to you in the street and asks you for $20, you say no. But if someone walks into your office and says, can I have half an hour of your time? You say yes. So she said if you start thinking about your time as money and thinking about, what you earn, and what does that mean in terms of taking that snapshot of time away from you, that may help you with that yes-no decision-making process. And as I said, for every time that you say yes to someone else, you're saying no to yourself. So just remember that. So I want to talk to you now about the 5 steps to being smart. It's an acronym, and following the 5 steps will help you find and harness your own lost hours on the home front. But it's also a process that you can bring into play in terms of what you're doing at work as well. It's very easily transferable. So S is for self-aware. And that's where you undertake some exercises and focus on what your goals are. What are my time management issues? What do I know that my challenges are? What would I see as being the perfect day as compared to what I'm doing right now? That just helps you draw a line in the sand so that you can see that where you are. And as professional women, as career women, as business women, it's not something that we often do. We don't often have that period of self-reflection where we go into the room of mirrors and have a really good hard look. So it's very, very worthwhile doing, both in a personal sense but also in a business sense. Step number 2 is map. And that's where you map your time in detail. And I talked about this a little bit earlier. If you don't know what you're doing each day and you don't know where your time goes, then you're not going to know where you can get your time back. So in mapping your time, what we do is we work with you to identify, or it's a process you can undertake yourself, where you will map in quite a lot of detail, either a day or a couple of days or a week, depending on how much you want to invest into the process. And that will give you all the data that you need for the next steps. And you'll see as you're mapping, you'll be quite surprised at some of the things you're spending your time on. So it's a really, really good exercise to do. Step number 3 is analyse. And that's where you segment your time spent each day into 4 different categories: your musts, your wants, your delegates, and your rejects. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And in that section, we also look at the costs of where you're spending your time. Because you've got that data, you've got your map, you know what you're spending your time on each day, so we start to cost that out for you. The next step is reframe. And that's the exciting bit. That's where we go back through the process and you identify everything that you're doing that you can either reject or delegate to start bringing back hours and hours of time into your day. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a sec as well. And then the last step is take control. And that's where you basically build an action plan of all the steps that you're going to take and implement to take control back and start rejecting the rejects from your day, start delegating, insourcing and outsourcing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more now. When it comes to your 4 time categories, your musts are the things that we all have to do, or the things that you have to do in your daily life. So you've got to get up, you've got to have a shower, you've got to eat, you've got to drop the kids at school or whatever. You'll have a whole list of things that are your musts. Your wants are the things you'd really love to be doing. Now, they're the things you're probably doing least of at the moment. So for me, for example, one of my big wants is jogging. So I will always make sure that I schedule time into my diary so that I can jog in. I'm not a very good jogger, but I do like jogging, and it's my headspace time. It's my chill out, reflective time, and I always feel much better for it. You know, so much so that it's almost like a trigger in my house. You know, every now and then my husband will say, honey, you need to go for a jog. Which I think is code for, honey, you're being a nasty mole, go and have some headspace. So that's my want. And I schedule time in for that now. It's no different in terms of your wants and making time for yourself. I want you to start treating that as you would and respecting that as you would any other professional. So if you schedule time in your diary to go see the doctor, you turn up. If you schedule time in the diary to take your kids to see the dentist, you turn up. Because to not do so would be really rude and you're letting that person down. So start scheduling yourself in as well and turn up. The next category is delegates. And delegates I love delegates because that's where you start to get rid of all the stuff that you're doing and other people pick it up. And I'll cover that in much more detail in a second. And rejects are where you identify anything that you need to do but you could be doing a lot smarter, or anything you just don't need to do at all because it is just a stupid waste of your time. And we're going to cover some rejects before we leave. First though, I want to talk about your time management costs, and I love this bit. Because I always get people. I think people, once they start realising about what their time is costing them or their habits are costing them, it can be quite confronting. And I think it's a very healthy way to look at your costs spent or your time spent, so that you can get an understanding of whether the time you're spending is the best use of your time. So I look at time spent through 4 different lenses. And in terms of costs, so you've got your financial cost, your opportunity cost, your physical cost, and your emotional cost. And if you start thinking about that and having that mindset to the way you're running the home and running your business, then you'll start to think about your time quite differently. And I want you to cost it out, because I don't want you to be in time debt. So let's work it out. Let's get the facts, because I want you to have a really good sense of that, because A, it might give you the motivation that you need to make some changes, but B, for some of you, you just may not have thought about your time this way before. So it's just an interesting exercise to take. So when it comes to financial cost, you'll each know at a general level what your hourly rate is. You'll either charge yourself out to your clients at an hourly rate, or you'll know from the income you're drawing from the business what your hourly rate is worth. So I want to run through a few scenarios to get you thinking about your time and your use of your time. And I'm just going to pick a nominal hourly rate, and it's not because I think anyone here in the room is above it, on it, above it, or below it. It's just because I'm so bad at math, I have to pick something that makes it easy for me to calculate when I'm talking. But you get the general idea. And as I'm doing this, I want you to think about it from the perspective of your own hourly rate. So let's just assume, for the sake of the exercise, that your hourly rate is $50 an hour. If you spend an hour a day on Facebook before you get stuck into work, and you work 260 work days a year, your Facebook habit is costing you $13,000 a year. If you spend 20 minutes in the morning making your kids' school lunches, where mostly, depending on their age, they're entirely capable of making school lunches for themselves, then that is costing you $4,300 a year. You may as well just send them to the tuck shop every day, and then you'll have change. If you spend 4 hours a day responding to generic emails or working on admin rather than working on your business, so if you're working in your business rather than on it, that's costing you $52,000 a year. If you spend 4 hours on a Sunday cleaning your house, that's costing you $10,400 a year, and it's a Sunday. So let's develop the cleaning scenario a little bit further, because this is one that's quite close to my heart. A lot of the women I work with are very, very successful, and yet they all insist on cleaning their own house. Now, I think I've drilled down on this with a number of women, and I think partly it's a mother's guilt sort of thing, where I'm putting so much time into my business, I'm putting so much time into growing that I'll clean the house because it's my job, and it sort of shows that I'm a good mum and I love my kids. That's crazy talk. If you earn if you earn $50 an hour and you spend 4 hours tomorrow cleaning your house, that's a $200 clean. That's a really expensive clean.
Full lifestyle cleaning services.
Plus, you just lost 4 hours of time. Now, you could hire a cleaner or a housekeeper, a good cleaner, for around $25 an hour, and they're going to be, being an expert, they're going to spend 3 hours doing the house rather than 4. So that clean just cost you $75 compared to your $200 clean. Plus, you've got your 4 hours back. So you get the picture from a financial cost perspective, so don't fret. Or don't fret yet, because it's actually about to get a little bit worse, because we're going to layer in the opportunity cost. So by choosing to clean the house for 4 hours, what else could you have spent those 4 hours on? You could have gone for a bike ride with the kids. You could have spent time with your partner. You could have gone and had a lazy long lunch with the girls, with a couple of glasses of wine. But instead, what you've done is you've spent those 4 hours cleaning the house, and you've probably spent those 4 hours yelling at your kids and your husband to help you clean the house. So on top of the opportunity cost and the financial cost, we now have an emotional cost, because you're shitty and you're tired and you're angry, and why the hell is it that I'm the only one who seems to know how to use the washing machine? And so you've got that overlaid on top of it. But then now let's just layer that again, like a cake. Let's layer it again with your physical cost. Because if you're down on your hands and knees grubbing that shower, or you're bending over to vacuum the floor, that could potentially hurt you. It hurts me, it hurts my back. Some of you will suffer from physical pain in doing some of those activities. Now, I'm probably a little bit older than some of you, so that's probably why it hurts me. So you've now got your financial, your opportunity, your emotional, and your physical costs all layered up, where for $75, you could have got the house cleaned. So start thinking about your time in terms of those costs, through those cost lenses, and working out, what is the best use of my time? Is cleaning my house today the best use of my time? Now, for some of you, it may not be a financial cost you're prepared or able to incur at this time, and that's totally fine. But what I do want you to start thinking about is just thinking about it through that lens, so that when your business does absolutely skyrocket, because we know it will, then that can be the first thing you do. You get yourself a cleaner. Okay, so what I want to do now is talk to you about some quick wins. Having turned your mind to your costs now, you know what your financial costs and your opportunity costs, your emotional and your physical costs are. And this is where, and so you'll know some of the tasks or the chores that you perform that you're just not prepared to put up with anymore. And this is where your delegates and your rejects come into play. So this is where I want you to take away some quick wins. And now, guys, this isn't rocket science, this stuff, okay? It's not like I'm going to get the Nobel Prize for coming up with, you know, a new philosophy around managing things on the home front. But what it is that I've had the headspace to think it through. And at the moment, your headspace is very, very full of your business and of your kids and your family and of the juggle. So really, it's just handing you a toolkit that you would have been able to come up with yourself if you'd had the time and the headspace to think it through. So let's talk quick wins. Delegates, I've already mentioned, is my absolute favourite area because I love constantly being in my home and identifying all the things that I do that those who live with me can start doing for themselves. And we separate delegates into two camps, insourcing and outsourcing. So we all know outsourcing. Outsourcing is where you identify things that you're prepared to pay someone to do for you. So the cleaning, the ironing, cleaning the windows, getting up on the roof and cleaning out the drains, someone to come in and put together the IKEA desk, things like that. Insourcing is the exact opposite of outsourcing in every sense. And it's where you identify everything around the house that you want someone you live with to do, and you are not going to pay them to do it. Now, let's start with the simples. Go home and start with the low-hanging fruit. From now on, everyone in your house should be responsible for putting away their own shoes, for hanging up their wet towels, for cleaning up their floor drapes, for separating the dirty stuff into the clean stuff, putting the dirty stuff in the laundry, putting the clean stuff in the cupboard. Who knew? There are hundreds and hundreds of things you are possibly doing for those you live with at the moment that they are capable of doing it for themselves. Now, I'm going to jump in here and anticipate, because every single time I've presented on this topic, without fail, someone will come up to me and say, oh, look, I really love the whole idea of insourcing, but my kids are just too young. So, you know, what do you think about that? And my answer generally is, well, unless they're incapable of crawling or walking, there's stuff that you can start your kids on. So how old are your kids? And they'll go, oh, 10 and 12. It's like, sister, you need more help. So any child, the earlier you start, the better. Little kids love helping. And if you can ingrain that passion for housekeeping in them from a very early age, then you are doing yourself a favour. Kids under 3 are entirely capable of putting their shoes in their bedroom. They can walk their plate from the table into the kitchen. They can help you put the clothes away. They can put things into the washing machine with you. Form some habits. Now, if your children under 3 are capable of putting away their own shoes, then children over 5 and husbands over 30 are also capable of putting away their own shoes. So start with the low-hanging fruit. Everyone is responsible for their own stuff. So in my house, for example, I have a very, very attractive whiteboard that sits in the living room, and it has everyone's jobs on it. Attractive, no. Relied on every day, absolutely. So my kids are responsible for putting away all their own stuff. You know, the loom bands, the headphones, the computers, the iPads, the phones, you know, everything, the shoes, the dirty, smelly football socks. They are responsible for that stuff. And they don't get paid for it because it's their stuff. They're also responsible for cleaning up their wardrobe, sorting their washing, putting their washing away, putting their dirty stuff into the washing machine. they also, I have 3 kids. I wish I had more because then I could get them to do more things around the house. But they, in the bath, having 3 kids and then having a bathroom to themselves is a perfect scenario because one's responsible for the toilet, one's responsible for the basin, and one's responsible for the shower. Now, my kids are now 15, 14 and 12, so they're probably older than some of your kids, but my kids have been doing this for years. And people will say to me, oh God, aren't you worried that they're not cleaning the toilet properly? The toilet is getting cleaned to a level, and I've shown them how to clean it. I regularly go and show them again. They then clean it, and then I go and check, and if they haven't done it right, I'll say do that bit again. Okay? Don't be fooled by your kids. They are absolutely capable of doing this stuff for themselves. And yes, you will get, guys, go and do, who's on dishwasher? Oh, you're going to get that sort of reaction, especially as they come to, that tweeny age and then into their teen years. And they'll trick you. They'll try and trick you. Go and make your bed. Oh, Mum, you're so much better at it than me. Don't fall for that. You say, absolutely, I am. I am better at it than you. Come on, I'll show you how to do it. You take them into their room, you fit the sheet, you put the doona in, you fluff it up, you put the pillow in, you put it on, you say, that looks really good. And then you take it all off and say, now you're Teach your kids how to be self-sufficient. At the end of the day, I always say to my clients, my sons are the ones who are going to grow up to want to marry your daughters. So let's do them all a favour and make sure that they're capable of being self-sufficient in the house. So on top of being responsible for their own stuff, you can also get your kids and your partner involved in some family-based insourcing, some family chores. So things that, impact everyone. So things like cleaning out the dishwasher, putting the bins out, taking the pet for a walk, feeding the pets. So in our house, we've got a number of general chores, so everyone's responsible for their own stuff, and then on a weekly basis, I rotate the bins, feeding the chickens and collecting the eggs, feeding the cat, the dishwasher, and they've now, I saw the other day, they've added one themselves to the board, which I was very happy with, which was they've decided that each week they're going to put their dirty washing in the washing tub in the bathroom, as opposed to taking the 4 steps to the laundry. But they've come up with it themselves, and then once a week they're rotating it that one of them then takes the big pile into the laundry. Awesome. So they're just coming up with this stuff themselves now, the poor downtrodden little slaves. So, insource, okay? Go home and insource. And you'll get some pushback. You'll get the, that's not fair. Rotate the chores so that it all becomes fair. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not living in Mary Poppins land. Not a day goes past where I don't yell out, who's on bins? Or who's on dishwasher? Because this stuff, even though we've been doing this for like 8 years, they still forget that every single day the dishwasher needs to be unloaded. It's like, Mum, God, why is it full again? Because we eat. So I have to remind them constantly, but you know what? I'm happy to remind them, because it means I'm not doing it myself. Another pushback I get from clients is they say, oh, look, it's just easier if I do it myself. Because it's quicker and it'll get the job done and I'll get it done faster. It's just easier. And I don't want to nag, I sound like this nag. Rubbish, okay? It is not easier for you to do it yourself, and I have proven this by taking a stopwatch and taking 6, it's easier if I do it myself, jobs, and timing it. So I took the hanging up the towels, making the beds, and I don't mean changing the linen, I just mean giving the doona a fluff, sorting out the floor drobes, putting the dirty washing in the washing, putting the clean stuff in the cupboard, and there was one other which I always forget. And I timed those, so that when anyone comes to me and says, it's simpler if I just do it myself, it's just quicker, it's not. I timed it and I extrapolated that over 12 months, and that was 17 days of my life. Doing those 6, it's simpler if I do it myself tasks. So change your mindset, reframe, get those around you to start doing this stuff for themselves. The last category I want to talk about for quick wins is rejects. And I love rejects as well, because some of the stuff that you hear that people do is absolutely hilarious. And I know I was guilty of this stuff myself. Classic rejects which you may identify in yourself that you can get rid of. Things like standing in front of the fridge every morning for 10 minutes thinking, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? Massive reject. Got ya! Make a meal plan at the start of the week and at the same time write an ingredients list next to it so you're killing two birds with one stone. If your kids are old enough, get them to help work out what's going to be made and who's going to make it. Your kids love that sort of stuff. And turn it into a game, MasterChef, then you'll sit down next dinner and work out what the ingredients are. You know, spaghetti bolognese, if my 10-year-old's making it, it'll be mince and tomato and pasta. Done. That's a big reject. Another reject is going to the supermarket multiple times a week just to get what you need for that night because you looked in the fridge this morning and decided you're going to have spaghetti bolognese and halfway through the day you've realised you don't have any mince. And so you go to the supermarket. Now that is a massive reject because I've timed that one as well. You go to the supermarket, it's peak hour because that's the only time you've got to go. You have to look around for a car park, then you're ferreting through your purse looking for $1 so you can release the bloody trolley. You get into the supermarket and it's peak hour, so there's 1,000 people there. There's only 2 checkouts on. You finally get through with your trolley and your 5 things that you need for that night. Take your trolley back because, God damn it, you want your $1 coin. And then you drive home. 17 minutes. Doing that multiple times a week is a massive waste of your time. Big reject. Another reject, ironing. Ironing anything. Buy clothes that don't crush. I've got clients who iron their sheets. You don't need to iron. I've got one client who recently confessed to me that she's been ironing her bras and undies.
I'm not that bad.
Stop ironing, okay? You don't need to iron. And iron's another classic outsource where you could get someone for $2 a shirt. You've got 10 shirts, $20, they're done. Don't iron. Cleaning before the cleaner comes. You know you do it, okay? And the reason you do it is because you don't want the cleaner to know how grubby you are. It doesn't matter, he's seen worse, okay? He doesn't care. So stop cleaning, stop tidying before the cleaner comes, okay? If you pathologically have to get everything out of the way before the cleaner comes, just buy like a big wicker basket or something nice, scoop it all up, chuck it in, take you 2 seconds, the cleaner can then clean and you're feeling that the house is, has been properly done. There are hundreds of rejects that you'll each have. And it's great to collaborate on this stuff. Come and talk to me, talk to the girls around the table because you will start to identify things in each of your own time management habits which are in need of correction. So I want to end there. I want to thank you all very, very much for giving me some of your time. I hope that you got something out of it and that you enjoyed the presentation. Thanks.